Hello, I am Christine Yeager. I am the regional rep for the Southeast Texas region, as well as Washington State, Missouri, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut. I also oversee the annual surveys, Zero Hero activities, and our You in the Driver's Seat smartphone app for our program. So to start off, the purpose of this is to explain the revamp of the TDS All-Star program and to answer your questions. At its core, the TDS program focuses on the top 5 risk factors for teen drivers. So distractions, nighttime driving, speeding, low seatbelt use, and impaired driving, plus additional safety topics like pedestrians and bicycles, railroad safety, and safety around large trucks and buses. And so the All-Star part of our program is where we recognize schools who do outstanding outreach work, where student teams can earn cash rewards for their school. Formerly, we had the All-Star program structured as a point-based program. And as the program grew over the years, so did the number of activities that were available. And so that sometimes led to teachers and students feeling a bit overwhelmed on where to get started. So this year we restructured the All-Star program to focus on one risk unit at a time with certain required activities. And then your school simply gets credit for the risk unit once it's completed. We have a calendar which we will follow and send communications about via email and on our social media platforms, but you are welcome to do whatever risk unit you want to do at any time. You can complete the activities for that unit and report back to us on an activity form, and we will reward you with a $200 check for completing each unit. And I'll also add that if you're focused on doing one risk unit, but you complete an activity for a different risk unit, so we'll still count that. So just, make sure you report everything so that you'll get credit. The risk unit information will be sent out on a calendar schedule throughout the year, as I mentioned. And so this will allow your teams to plan your outreach and activities. And if your team completes all 6 units, you can earn a total of $1,500. So here are the steps for becoming an All-Star school. The first step is to complete your annual surveys. We do annual surveys every year, hence the name annual. All of that information is in your welcome email. It shows how many surveys your school has to complete based on your school's population size. It provides links and instructions to the survey, and it tells you your school code, which students will need to enter at the beginning of the survey. So surveys are your first priority because schools must complete annual surveys in order to receive any All-Star reward checks. Once we get all of those surveys back, we mark them complete on our end. You don't have to fill out an activity report about that. And then that's how you kind of kickstart your All-Star year. Once you completed surveys, you will get an email with a summary report of the survey results. And if we do not already have a W-9 for your school on file, we will also ask that you complete that information at that time. And so then once we have a W-9 on file for your school, then we will send you a $100 check for completing surveys. So just if you get an email from us, just be sure to read it carefully and maybe check your spam folders before clearing them out. After surveys are completed, you would start your first risk unit. The first risk unit that we will send communication about is the distracted driving unit, again, based on the calendar that we're going to follow. The good thing about this is that, again, you can do activities from other risk units at any time. So, for example, let's say next month in October, that's during our distracted driving risk unit. But if you want to have a big rig come out and do a display during that time, just make sure to report it. We will go ahead and count that under the share the road risk unit. So once that comes up. So it's like, even if you do some things early, we'll still give you credit in the appropriate risk unit. So again, just report everything. using an activity form, and you will need a school code, your school code for the activity form, so you can refer to your welcome email or email your rep if you're not sure. When you complete a risk unit, you'll receive a $200 check, and then you would move on to the next unit. So this is the award scale. So you earn $100 for completing surveys, and that makes your school an outstanding school. And then each risk unit earns your school a star level and a $200 check. So there are 6 risk units, so 1 stars up to 6 stars. And if your school completes all 6 units, then we will give you a $200 bonus, giving your school the opportunity to earn a total of $1,500. Once again, surveys must be completed to earn all-star rewards for completing risk units. All right, so we send your school a free educational resource startup kit. The guided risk units are guided. So, we have a specified amount of time kind of following that calendar that I mentioned. Each risk unit will be about a month or 6 weeks approximately. And we will, communicate messages and emails about what risk unit you should be focusing on. But again, if you want to do your own thing, you are welcome to do so. So the first risk unit that we are going to focus on is distracted driving. And so if you haven't already, you will shortly receive an email related to this risk unit. And it's going to begin on Monday, September 26th, and goes through October 31st. And so I will kind of break this down just for those of you that want to see the details. So I'm going to go through these slides first, and then I will go to our website and show you how to find this information on our website. So just focused here on these graphics initially. So if you're a high school, you're going to look on the left side. And if you're a junior high, you'll look on the right. So for this risk unit, and really all the risk units, there's a required sort of bigger activity, and then either 3 if you're a high school or 2 if you're a junior high school, focused activities that are usually smaller. So for this distractions unit, the big required activity is Zero Hero Distractions. And so this is a pre and post observation activity where you're checking for cell phone use while driving. And then there are 3 weeks of outreach activities in between the pre and post. So first, your students will do the pre-observations. And so they would set up near a parking lot, entrance or exit. And you can have multiple spots if that's, if you have a big school and you have enough on your student team to do that. And so the students will basically log how many drivers are using a cell phone while driving. And then there is also a very specific form that they will need to use. So just be sure to check your email or our website, which I'll show you in a minute, for either a link to a PDF file that you can download and print if they want to use pen and paper, or there's a link to an online observation form where they can do it on their cell phone or have a tablet connected to the internet based on their observation spot. There's also a how-to video on our website. So, you're more visual and don't want to read a lot of instructions, you can go watch that. So after your students have completed the pre-observations, they will spend 3 weeks or more doing outreach activities focused on distracted driving. So if you're a high school, you'll pick 3 focused activities. And if you're a junior high school, you'll pick 2 focused activities. And so just make sure to report all activities using the activity form. And then after the 3 weeks of outreach, your students will go back to the same spots where they did the pre-observations, and they will now do the post-observations. So again, they will count how many drivers are using a cell phone or not. High school students will only count teen drivers, and junior high students will only count adult drivers since your students are not old enough to drive yet. Once you've completed Zero Hero Distractions, your rep will email you a summary so that you and your students can see how much of an impact their outreach work made. And we'll also send your school a $200 check for completing the distracted driving unit. So for the 3 or the 2 focused activities, I want to elaborate a bit there. So for this distracted driving risk unit, again, your students will be conducting the focused activities during the 3 weeks in between the pre and post observations. So for example, since we have a lot of high school people joining us here, you have to choose 3. So for example, you could have your students get at least 10 other students to download and actively use our smartphone app, or they could do the memory challenge activity, or they could pick from the list of activity options that could be used for any of the risks. So let me go to the next slide. It might make more sense. So up here in this first box, you can see this list is for, it could be used in any of the risk units, right? So for example, your students could do a Kahoot trivia focused on distracted driving. They could do flashcards about distracted driving. You could have Tyson come and share about his story of distracted driving, how that impacted his life. Or you could, do another activity that you created that focuses on distracted driving. So then once you're in the next risk unit, you could do the Kahoot trivia about nighttime driving. You could do flashcards about nighttime driving. So in other words, that's what we mean by multiple use guided activities, is that you can use these in multiple risk units, whereas these activities listed here can only be counted one time, only during one risk unit. So for example, if your students wanted to sign a pledge banner about distracted driving, you can't also have them sign a pledge banner during the nighttime risk unit. So that's what we mean by it can only be counted once. Same thing with morning announcements. If you want to have your school announce in the morning about a certain risk unit, you can't do that. We won't give you credit for more than one risk unit. And then here at the bottom, you can see it says safety fair. So we just want to point out that if your school decides to host a safety fair event where they maybe have multiple like stations set up that focus on several different activities. So like, for example, if you have a driving simulator set up that focuses on distracted driving, and then maybe at a different table, you have our Smash Match game, which is about impaired driving. And then maybe you have our stack the block speeding activity at another table. We will give you credit for each of those in each of their respective risk units. So, you can get kind of multiple credit for that. Just make sure you report everything. We also have some resources that you can borrow. A lot of these resources are shipped from San Antonio. And so just let your rep know the date of the event that you need it, the related details, how long you need to borrow it, and we can ship those out to you and provide a return label for you to return it to us once you're done. But due to the size and shipping cost, we cannot ship everything. So like, for example, we're not going to be shipping out our driving simulators. They're just, they're huge. So if you happen to live near someone, a rep who has a driving simulator, you can perhaps borrow it. So if you're interested in borrowing any of these, just email your regional rep to inquire about what you're interested in. Okay, before I take you to the website, I'm going to elaborate on the smartphone app that we have. So again, this is one of the, it could be one of the 3 or 2, no, I don't think it's available for middle school, it's just 16 and up. But this could be one of the required focused activities that your students may choose to do. So this smartphone app is called You in the Driver's Seat app, and we designed this app to deter distracted driving by instilling the concept that responsibility has its rewards. The app tracks, reports, and rewards safe driving by deterring distracted driving and excessive speeding. And so the way that it works is drivers start with a perfect driving score of 100. And then for each incident of distraction or excessive speeding, 20 points are taken off. And so at the end of a trip, as long as the user has a score of 100 still, then that qualifies as a safe trip, and then they earn points. The number of points is 5 times the number of miles driven in that safe trip. And then once they hit certain reward milestones, they are eligible to receive a $10 gift card to their choice of Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, or Amazon. These gift card rewards are only for users who are between the ages of 16 to 25. And so here are the reward milestones. So everything is cumulative. And so once the user has made 10 or 25, all the way up to 100 safe trips, they would get a gift card, a $10 gift card for each of those. And then once they've accrued 1,000 points, all the way up to 15,000 points, they would get a gift card for each of those reward levels. So the app is available on the Apple Store and Android Store. And so you can use the QR codes to download those, and just encourage your students and their peers to use the app. So, and it could be used year round too, not just during the distraction unit. So again, these gift card rewards, I should mention, these are not rewards for the school. These are actually rewards for the individual user. So Amazon gift cards are always nice, right? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to now go to the website just to show you where things are located. So this is our website. It is t-driver.com. And so if you want to see the information about All-Stars, you would go to the events and contests option. And so you hover over that and then select All-Star program. And this is our landing page where it has all the information about, you can see these graphics I've already shown you and the steps to becoming an All-Star school. And then right here, your first step is annual surveys. And so it shows you how many surveys your school needs to complete based on student population. And again, that information is also in your welcome email. And then once you've completed surveys, this page also has links to each of the risk units. So if you want to follow our calendar, you would start with distracted driving, but again, you don't have to. So once you click on that, it takes you to the page just focused on distracted driving unit. And so you can see the breakdown here. Again, we have the Zero Hero distractions as the required activity. And then your students would pick 3 from either could use the smartphone app, do the memory challenge, or choose from the list of all risk. Oh no, okay, I'll just have to go back. Choose from the list of all risk activities that could be counted in one or more, but you'll have to refer to the which ones can be counted only once versus multiple times. So and then if you're interested in a certain activity, like here about Distract-a-Match, you can click on that and see more information. It gives you some guidelines and tips on how to complete the activity. And so we tried to make this as interactive as possible so that you can kind of keep clicking around and find what you're looking for or what you might be interested in doing. I thank you so much for your time, for joining us. And if you think of a question later, please email your regional rep. We are here for you and want to just guide you through this and help you have a great year.